Hey everybody, how are you today? So, welcome remote learners out there. Some of you have been remote learners all semester so far. Some of you are new remote learners second quarter. So, we're starting our new unit, and our new unit is called Socializing the Individual. Socialization is the process of learning to participate in a group. And so, we're going to start off by talking about basically how from the moment you were born, whether it's your family, your friends, the media, or school, it teaches you how to participate in our society and how to behave in different situations. So basically, your friends, your family, TV, the radio, the media, and school, they show you how to act and they show you there will be consequences if you don't meet society's norms. Perhaps it'll just be an odd look if you break a folkway, perhaps it might be something more serious if you break a moray. And we're going to be focusing for the most part on Chapter 4, but we'll be getting a little bit into Chapter 3 and Chapter 5 and Chapter 11. We're kind of throwing some different stuff in there because we'll be taking two big tests this quarter. First, focusing on socialization, and then we'll be focusing on deviance and probably doing a project in there as well as we wrap up this semester. So, as we're going through today's lecture, we'll be moving into Chapter 4, Section 1, and we're just going to be learning about what is socialization, how it impacts someone's development, what is personality, what are the two big theories kind of as far as personality development, so what role does nature and nurture play, and then we're going to start talking a little bit about feral children. And we'll get into this on Wednesday's lecture as well, and we'll talk about if a feral child, basically a wild child, doesn't receive the material comforts or doesn't receive love and affection, the non-material things that are necessary for a child, what happens to them? How does it impact their growth and development? Will they ever be able to function in our society? Now, the first thing to talk about is socialization. And remember, these are your notes, whether you're writing them or typing them, so feel free to make them exact or to come back and watch the video later. Once we're done with the entire chapter, I will post them, but I don't want to post them necessarily ahead of time. I've gone back and forth about that. But yeah, I think I'll still just kind of keep doing it the way that it's been going. It seems like most of you have succeeded with this method. So socialization is just this process of learning a group's skills, its values, its beliefs, its behavior patterns. For the most part, its norms. And really and truly, your friends teach you so much, but so does school. From the time you're a little kid and you go to school, you're learning, don't eat glue, don't run with scissors, don't stab kids, don't pull that kid's ponytail, don't cut in line, don't, throw spit wads at the teacher. Your parents, whether you like them or not, or whoever's been raising you, they've been teaching you all sorts of things about how to stand up straight and get your work done and do it on time and be proud and respect your elders and eat your vegetables and whatever it is that your parents say, whether you agree with or disagree with, there is some wisdom in there. And they've been showing you what some major American beliefs are and values and how to survive in our society. And a lot of the other stuff you learn, of course, comes from your friends. Your friends are always the ones who show you what's cool, perhaps, but they also challenge you to go outside of society's norms, to go outside of your comfort zone. And the media, in a sense, shows you that as well. So we're going to be looking at kind of different stages of development. And so today we're going to be thinking more about babies and young children, like elementary school children. And we'll be talking about them as well later this week. And then as we go throughout the unit, we'll be thinking about some of the challenges and some of the impacts that might have on your life during your teen years, during adolescence, and then moving more so into adulthood, looking at kind of these different factors that shape your personality and its development as you learn how to participate in our society. Now, you might say, well, why is socialization important? Why is it so important? Well, because in our society, we have expectations that you're going to follow our norms. And if you don't follow our norms, you are definitely going to be a rule breaker, right? You're going to receive odd looks for violating those folkways. You might struggle with making friends. You might struggle with getting hired on, for a job. So there could be real consequences if you go so far as to violate a moray. You definitely might lose friends, might lose respect to the peers. Our most important mores have been turned into laws. You may end up in jail. You're definitely not going to receive any kind of recognition or praise, which might not bother you. But ultimately, it is your parents' job, to teach you how to function, how to participate in our society, and what our norms are, so that you can succeed successfully as an adult one day, so that you can live your life. And obviously, you can define for yourself what is success in your minds. Is it wealth? Is it friends? Is it family? Is it academics? That's kind of up to you. But this socialization process of learning to participate in our society, our culture's way of life, as we live in this American nation, it starts from the moment you're born, and it continues throughout your life, because you're constantly coming into contact with new people, and our values are changing and our attitudes are changing. And so it's not like the socialization process stops. As technology's changed, as values have changed, as our political ideas have changed, and we've evolved as a country, you continue to evolve as a person, and so you're going to continue to get influenced by these different groups of people. I really feel this week, you don't have to write down the freshman example that I have down there, but I feel bad for the freshmen. Why? Well, because we were all freshmen once, and because you have to think about it. We only had 6 days of in-person instruction prior to this. So for many of these kids who are choosing to come back this week as hybrid, today was like the first day of school, and it was a wild first day of school. It snowed today. We had a fire drill. None of the bells were on time today. Most kids realize that classes are very small. Our sociology class was actually pretty big. I think it had like 8 or 10 kids, but most classes are very small. Some classes only had 4 to 5 students. A lot of kids realized that they missed seeing some of their friends with their last names at lunch or in the hallway. So I just feel bad for everybody, but I really feel bad for our freshmen, because not only are they coping with all of this COVID-19 impact, but they're also dealing with just not knowing their schedule or their teachers or the building, and so it definitely is kind of overwhelming. But that's part of the whole socialization process, as we continue to help you adapt and to learn the new routines and schedules. I mean, the whole mask debate, whether you're for masks or you're against masks, as it's become more of a social moray, honestly, that's part of our socialization process, of even teaching young children how to wear a mask and how to wear it properly and how to hand sanitize and how to wash your hands and how to take your mask off. That's all part of socialization. It's really just all part of our culture and learning to participate in it. So our major focus in section 1 is, how is someone's personality developed? And technically, personality is defined as the sum total of behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, and values that are characteristic of an individual. So basically, what makes you you? Why do you act the way you do? Why do you care about certain stuff and not others? Why do you have these values and these beliefs? Why do you have aspirations about certain things but not others? Why are you friends with these people? We're going to be exploring your personality later this week. In fact, I'll be posting later this week a personality test, so you can get an idea as far as what some of your major attitudes are. Are you extroverted and outgoing? Are you more introverted? What might be some potential jobs for you based off some of your personality characteristics? But sociologists are really focused on, when it comes to you, how did you get that way? Was it because of characteristics or traits that you inherited from your parents? Is it all really because of your DNA? Is it because of what we call nature? Okay. Or is it because of nurture? Is it because of the environment that you were raised in? And you might say, well, I think it's both. Well, honestly, nowadays, most people, sociologists, psychologists, scientists in general, tend to agree with you. And they think that, sure, it is both. That it might have to do with traits you inherit from mom and dad, even if you don't like them, but they are your, genetic parents. But it also might have a lot to do with the environment that you were raised in. Were you raised in a home that was loving? Were you raised in a home that had domestic violence? Was it war-torn? Were you wealthy? Were you poor? Or were your parents alcoholics? That's going to have a huge impact on your life and your development and your growth. So in today's world, we would probably say both. But early on in sociology, we had kind of 2 camps, a nature camp versus a nurture camp. And in the nature camp, you had a lot of scientists, specifically what we call sociobiologists, who said, look, the reason that people act the way they do is because of their DNA. It's all been ingrained in them because of their genetic code. And sociobiologists are basically studying, your behavior and your personality, and they say there's a biological reason why you act the way you do and why you do the things you do. It all goes back to your genetic code, into that DNA. And they say, how do you know? Well, they say, look at babies. They say a baby is born with basically everything it needs. It's born with an instinct, a drive, and a reflex. And when I say a reflex, as soon as a baby can walk, or even if they can't walk, if a baby puts their hand on a hot stove, it will pull it away. No one has to teach that baby to do it. It is just a natural reflex, because your body wants to obviously get away from that thing that's hot. So even though, a baby might not be able to walk yet, if they can crawl and they touch that hot stove, they're still going to pull that hand away. It's just a natural body reaction to get away from something like that. Your body also has a natural drive, like for hunger. Okay, if a baby is hungry, it will signal to you that it is hungry, and it will cry. It may also cry because it's cold or it's wet or it's tired and it's cranky, but it has a hunger drive. It wants to eat, and it will root around for food if possible. It will look for food. So you have this inner urge to eat. And you, of course, also are born with certain instincts. Like, for example, the most famous being, your fight or flight response. And so, if a baby is able to crawl or perhaps even to walk, and if there was a cat or a dog annoying it, it would still attempt to flee to get away. It's more so that the young child is probably pulling the tail of the dog and annoying the dog or cat. But if the animal was annoying it, it would try to flee. It would try to get away for sure. And so you are born with these instincts, right, in terms of survival, and drives to eat and reflexes to keep you safe. So the sociobiologists are saying you're already born with all these, characteristics in your brain and in your genetic code that you will survive. And they're claiming that you're also born with certain, not just physical traits, but aptitudes. The reason that you're good at certain sports, or you can play musical instruments, and that really your nature, whether you want to admit it or not, has impacted you, and your parents have played this huge role in who you are by passing on their DNA. Sociobiologists would also say, look at twins. There's so much in common, and I'm not just talking about physical characteristics, but in terms of personality traits, interests, decisions they make later in life, the way they respond and react to things. There are just so many similarities between twins, even twins that have never met, that were separated at birth, that make sociobiologists say the reason you are the way you are is because of nature. It's because of those inherited traits. And that's why I've posted that book assignment, which is going to be due Thursday for Group A, A through K, or Friday for Group B, L through Z, which kind of looks at a twin study. Now, last slide we're going to talk about today is just kind of getting more into this nature versus nurture idea. So I've been hinting at that, this fundamental question as far as what has shaped your personality. Is it nature? Is it heredity? Is it the factors that you inherited from your parents in terms of physical characteristics, the DNA, an aptitude for something, the way you respond? Is that the reason that you act the way that you do? And sociobiologists would say yes, because even a baby is born with certain drives and instincts and reflexes. And it's very clear when you look at the reaction of a baby to certain things, and if you look at twin studies. But the other side of the coin is nurture. And for a while, there were people who said that it's totally your environment, that you can take a rich kid and stick them in a poor family, or you can take a poor kid and stick them in a rich family. And it has nothing to do with their, inherited intelligence, that they will grow up to be, incredibly academically successful or even wealthy because of the environment that you put them in, because you get them the best tutors and the best schools, and you pay to get them the best coaches and the best professors, or the best teachers to help them learn a musical instrument. So there are people out there who, in sociology and psychology, for a while claimed it was all about environment. It was all about the place that you were raised. And so getting back to kind of our thinking about children, if children are in an orphanage and they don't receive any love or stimulation, if they don't have any of those non-material comforts, if they're receiving any kind of physical or emotional abuse, that environment could have a detrimental effect on their life and could scar them for life. It could have a huge impact. They may never learn to truly socialize or fit in with our society. So there are people out there who focus more on nurture. Today, though, most people think that it is a mix of both. But what you're going to be looking at in the next lecture is I'm going to focus more so on nurture and some more experiments like Harlow's experiment with monkeys, which continue to kind of support the evidence that the environment that you're raised on definitely impacts you. We'll talk about some more psychological studies, and you'll have some more assignments to do. That's it for now, guys. Have a great day.